This is the number one reason why Saul Canelo Alvarez is most definitely the A side over Gennady Trilogy Golovkin. Hey, no, guys. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing if you want to become part of the gang. Notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the super chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, and the Patreon family. We working. Now, before I get into the title of the video, which is why you guys click, we're going to do 30 seconds, a moment of silence for the unfortunate tragedy. And in case you guys don't know what that is, people traveling from Mexico, Monterrey, Mexico, they lost their lives, boxing fans, attempting to go see Canelo versus Jacobs. The plane went down, and it's reported that 13 people, unfortunately, lost their lives in the tragic plane crash. So we're going to take a brief moment of silence. So yeah, that hurt my heart hearing that, you know, people trying to see boxing and make their way out to see one of their countrymen perform, and their plane didn't make it. So wanted to pay my respects like always. Let's talk about this video. Now, there's an absolute reason why Canelo Alvarez should be in full 100% control over who he fights next, even if it's not Golovkin. Golovkin shouldn't have a say. Now, I know some people are going to say, oh, that's a bit harsh because Gennady Golovkin, he only has one loss to Canelo. Some people are even saying that he won one, if not both the fights. I think you could give Golovkin the first fight, definitely not the second fight. I thought Canelo, you know, pretty handedly beat Golovkin until he kind of started getting tired, similar to what we've seen in the Daniel Jacobs fight. But he held on. He never got knocked down, never got knocked out, anything like that. So, you know, I gave that fight to Canelo. In fact, I didn't really see what Golovkin was doing for the first 8 rounds in the rematch. I don't think he was doing too much of anything. Meanwhile, he was proclaiming this quote-unquote Mexican style, him and Abel, who that relationship is now defunct. They're not working together. But for that fight, they did work together. And I do think that loss to Canelo is part of what soured their relationship. I have no proof of it. They're saying it's over money, a money dispute. But I think that was the money dispute might have been the straw that broke the camel's back. But I wouldn't be surprised if taking that first L, that first professional loss, you know, had Golovkin feeling some type of way. I'm like, man, how much do I need to be paying a trainer? I just came off a loss. I do think that has something to do with it, even though I can't prove it. But either way, I thought Canelo secured the victory. I didn't really see what this quote unquote controversy was in the second fight. I think some people just target certain fighters like Canelo, and because of, you know, past bad scoring in the Mayweather fight with CJ Ross or Edislandi Lara or whatever, the Trout fight, they're bringing up and drudging like shit that doesn't have nothing to do with it. Boxing, you got to look at it at case-by-case basis, and what happened here. You know, people are looking at the first Golovkin fight and felt the type of way, and that resentment carried over. But second fight, Canelo clearly won to me. But now Triple G has signed. He followed Canelo over to DAZN, which we knew was going to happen most likely, despite getting offers from ESPN and PBC. They went over there to fight on DAZN. Now, DAZN, you know, John Markowski and the powers that be and Tom Loeffler, these people have come up and suggested Canelo versus Triple G3. However, Oscar De La Hoya and Canelo both have been public and said Triple G needs to do something and win a belt, and then sure, we can have the third fight. Now, I'm going to give you guys a piece of news, and this absolutely stipulates without a shadow of a doubt, 100% unequivocally, that Canelo is the A side. Now, I'm looking at ESPN Deportes, right? Canelo obviously beat Jacobs. And look at this article right here. It says more than 30 million people saw Canelo fight in Mexico. 30, right? So we click on the article. As you guys can see, reports more than 30 million people saw Canelo in Mexico. And this is a report from ESPN, and I'm going to read it for you guys. It said Las Vegas, the triumphant Saul Canelo Alvarez was seen in Mexico by more than 30 million fans, according to several reports obtained by ESPN during the broadcast that was offered by the television channels Televisa and TV Azteca. So just so it's clear, in Mexico, they weren't, DAZN is not available. So this is both basically Televisa and TV Azteca. They're the ones that advertise it, they're the ones that broadcast it. Just like when Wilder Fury fought in the UK, it was BT Sport, and in America, it was Showtime. So just to be clear, but DAZN is not available in Mexico. So that's huge numbers. It says in total, there were 30.5 million fans who were watching the battle of Canelo versus Jacobs. That is practically a quarter of the Mexican population taking advantage of TV Azteca with 18.4 million viewers by 12.1 million on Televisa. So basically they had it broadcast on 2 different networks. These are equivalent to like free TV. So similar to when PBC does deals with Fox and they have the shows on regular Fox. But this is how many people tuned in. It said the Battle of Canelo in Mexico was distributed by the 2 open television broadcasts and also by Canal Space through the cable system. On American soil, the battle was delivered through DAZN streaming platform. Also 500 movie theaters and closed circuits in Las Vegas. Canelo unanimously defeated Daniel Jacobs and unified the middleweight strips of the WBA, WBC, and IBF to establish himself as the best middleweight and be one step away from achieving their goal. Committed to be the first Mexican and Latin boxer to hold all 4 boxing rings in the same division. All he's missing is the WBO, which Demetrius Andrade has. Alvarez fought for the 5th time in T-Mobile Arena, where he has 4 wins and a draw. Amir Khan, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., and 2 fights with Golovkin. The event was attended by 20,203 fans, according to the report of the organizers, which is not the best brand in the property. Wow. So there you have it, folks. Canelo Alvarez, I know there was no real controversy if he was a star, but this proves it. See, Canelo has been marketed. First of all, he has a country behind him, and that country is tuning into his fights. Shout out to Mexico, right? In addition, he has been branded. See, this is people. I feel like a lot of the promoters are getting lazy with certain fighters from other places, and they're just trying to force feed them down Americans' public. But Canelo was built the right way. He had the look. They called him Cinnamon. He had the red hair. People thought he looked Irish, but he spoke Spanish. He had the pale skin, and he could scrap. So they built him up on Floyd Mayweather undercards, and they built him up so people in American audiences, as well as Mexican American fans and Hispanic fans and people back home, got to see his rise. And now he's the big star in boxing, and it's a great thing that he's fulfilling that aspect of the game. You know what I mean? And for me, this is 100% proof as to why Canelo is the A side. I don't think there was ever any doubt, but he beat Jacobs, which is a much tougher fight than Triple G is involved in with Steve Rolls. Nobody even knows who that is in America, really. I don't even know if he's a big name in Canada. And then now, I don't know what the DAZN numbers in the US were. I don't know if it was good or bad, but back at home, Canelo's from Guadalajara, Mexico, and back at home, he was viewed by 30.5 million, which these aren't foreign numbers for Canelo. He's always does good back at home, especially when it's on free TV. But you can see the place is packed. You can see the weigh-ins packed. Golovkin simply doesn't put out those type of numbers. He doesn't. I never seen no report about I don't even know the population of Kazakhstan, per se, but I never see about, 30 million or 17 million people in Kazakhstan watch the fight. Again, I don't even know how many people live. I don't know what the actual population is. So we're going to pour a little toast to the A side, Canelo. But this is precisely why Canelo is the A side. And in my opinion, I don't even want to see the Golovkin Trilogy fight. I think it's unfair. I don't mind the Trilogy fight later, but I think it's unfair for Golovkin to only have to fight a guy like Steve Rolls at a catchweight. Let me break this down for you people. Golovkin is fighting an opponent who's never really fought outside of Canada, has fought in one 10-round fight. That was in last December 2018. And has never, I repeat, never competed in a scheduled 12-round bout. And he's 35 years old. So Steve Rolls is 35 years old, and he has never been scheduled a 12-rounder. That's crazy. That's crazy. He only has one 10-round. Clarissa Shields just fought Christina Hammer in a 10-round bout, and she's on her 11th fight. You know what I'm saying? Shakur Stevenson and all these up-and-comers like Devin Haney, they'll be scheduled for 12 rounds ASAP, definitely before they turn age 35. So for Canelo to have to face a bigger person that I thought beat Triple G in Danny Jacobs, and then do very well, show great skill, some great upper body movement. He did get tired late, which I've already said, but he got the job done. We knew Canelo's not losing the decision the way he looked early and how tentative Jacobs was early, so Jacobs, he really should have got an earlier start, but this solidifies Canelo. He collected another belt. He had, I would say, an easier time, even though he didn't knock down Jacobs. He made the rounds he won a lot bigger than Triple G outside of the knockdown round. You get what I'm saying? There were more rounds where Canelo probably looked overall better. And this is the other thing, is Jacobs didn't do the same day weigh-in per their pact. I don't know if they're going to really charge him the $1 million penalty and these different types of things. But Jacobs came in with the weight advantage, and Canelo was unfazed by it, unbothered. And then to hear these great numbers for Canelo back at home, I mean, it's just what it is. That's a crazy shot. It's what it is, and Golovkin just simply doesn't put these type of numbers out. So I really hope Canelo sticks to his word. I prefer Canelo to fight me personally, ego. I prefer Canelo to face Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade, because I don't like the weight class jumping. When you're only one tick away, you're the A side, so any fight you want, you can pretty much get, within reason. And you're one click away from becoming undisputed, which is something that Canelo's never done. So I would rather see him fight Andrade. If not, Charlo is a great option. For me personally, I think that's a great fight, especially in Texas. Charlo's from Houston. Look at that crowd. Charlo's from Texas. Canelo has a great fan base in Texas. So the crowd looked pretty good. I don't know how full it was and stuff like that, because they have sections blocked off and stuff. But either way, Canelo is a star. He got the belt from Jacobs. He did 30.5 million back at home. I don't know if the DAZN numbers are going to come out, stuff like that, but Triple G should have to beg for mercy to be honest, because Canelo, he keeps showing his star power. I would like to see let's see how big of an audience Triple G versus Steve Rolls generates. And I don't think it's fair for DAZN to baby Triple G in that way. Like I said, Canelo had to just face Danny Jacobs under the same duress and circumstances as pretty much as Triple G, because Danny Jacobs in both of those fights elected to not do the same day weigh-in. So Canelo, being the guy Canelo hasn't been at middleweight his whole career. Golovkin has. Golovkin has been at middleweight, and before that he was a middleweight in fighting in those 160-pound divisions as an amateur. Canelo, he took the test, so he's fought more apt fight. Since he's moved up to 160, he's fought more credible fights than he hasn't. The only one that was suspect was Rocky Fielding. But I wasn't really mad at that because he fought Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. at a catch weight, moved from Liam Smith 154 to 164.5 to fight Chavez Jr., beat the shit out of him, beat him easy work, won every round, then immediately fought Golovkin. He did fail a drug test, but then he came back and he came back and beat Golovkin more convincingly with a totally different game plan. He's also doing year-round VADA testing now. So, definitely his last 2 wins, everything should be on the up and up unless we hear something crazy. But he's doing year-round testing, so no one can say that, And he's putting up the numbers. Golovkin doesn't put up these type of numbers. It's just what it is. So this proves Canelo's worth. It proves he's the face of boxing. He's the A-side. He has a whole country behind him. And, I just don't think it's right for him to have to take tough test after tough test as the A-side. And then DAZN, in essence, babies Golovkin, allows him to fight some unnecessary fight that's probably not going to do no crazy numbers, right? If I had to take an educated guess, I would say Canelo Fielding and obviously definitely Canelo Jacobs would be more asses will be in the seats for those fights than Triple G versus Steve Rolls at that same building where he fought Rocky Fielding. So, without a doubt, Canelo is a star. 30.5 million back at home proves that. And Golovkin really doesn't have any real leverage here. After Canelo failed a drug test, Golovkin was arguing, saying he wanted 50-50, him and his team, and they're playing hardball. Then they said they wouldn't settle for anything under 45. I think all those days are over because he doesn't really have any type of leverage at this point. Canelo has all the belts. Golovkin has no belts. Golovkin's not fighting a fight that's really favorable for the fans, so I don't imagine it would do no crazy numbers. I highly doubt in Kazakhstan, Steve Rolls versus Golovkin does 30.5 million homes or better. I don't even know how it's set up over there, like if they're going to broadcast the fight in Kazakhstan. And, Canelo got all the advantages. He is ultimately the A-side. The other thing is Triple G doesn't have any numbers without Canelo. Like his pay-per-view with Danny Jacobs, it didn't really do that great, like from a numbers spot. Like I was at that fight, so the crowd was good. I had a good amount of people in the crowd at Madison Square Garden, but ultimately it wasn't, I think they said 150,000 views. Errol Spence and Mikey Garcia beat that in their first pay-per-view outing. Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder and Tyson Fury in their first pay-per-view outing beat those numbers. Right, and that was Golovkin's second. It was his second outing because he fought David Lemieux. And look at this crowd. Look at this weigh-in crowd. They're there for Canelo. I'm not saying Jacobs didn't have nobody in the crowd, but Conor McGregor's crowds look like that too. So, Floyd Mayweather fight. So that was a good show up for the weigh-in. The numbers solidified Canelo who he is. I don't know about DAZN because a lot of people were having problems with the service and different things like that. But either way, despite all that, Canelo, he's the one with the crazy DAZN deal, making all the money. He did 30.5 million. He's the one that just unified with Jacobs and got the belt. It is what it is. So to me, that's the number one reason that, Canelo holds all the cards in terms of the trilogy. And me personally, I don't even want to see the trilogy. And there's a couple of reasons for that. I'll share with you a few. Canelo versus Triple G is, to me, the fights are cool, but it's no like Juan Manuel Marquez versus Pacquiao. It's no Eric Morales versus Marco Antonio Barrera. It's not like a Arturo Gatti, Mickey Ward type fight. It's nothing like that. It's not a must see. In fact, Mike Alvarado versus Brandon Rios 1 and 2 were probably more action packed to me than Canelo Triple G 1 and 2. Like I had more fun with those fights. The third one not so much because of how it ended, but I went to that fight. But it's not like an all-time classic type of trilogy that they should milk. Plus they could fight, whenever. They could fight. Triple G has like a 6-fight deal or something. So they could fight later. I think Canelo should try to do what he said, round up them belts, maybe even fight Caleb Smith, even though I don't like the hopping around and stuff like that. But I would rather at least see a fresh match. You know, Canelo trying to do something great and beat an actual more firm champion than a Rocky Fielding at 168. You know, that to me sounds better. Triple G should really fight Charlo or Andrade, you know. Or if Canelo's fighting Andrade, then Triple G should fight Charlo. I don't think he should be able to mosey around and, you know, really just have whatever fight he wants to pick and just sit on the sideline while everyone else is doing the grunt work. Like Canelo had to fight Jacobs. Jacobs was in a tough fight with a quality fighter like Canelo. Meanwhile, Triple G gets to handpick somebody like Steve Rolls, fight him at a catchweight. No one knows him. He's probably not going to do crazy numbers, and to have DAZN, you know, allow for this, I just don't think it's fair. You know, everybody else is doing the grunt work. Canelo's doing his part. Back home, he's doing these type of numbers. All eyes on him. You know, maybe some celebrities went out. Let's see how many celebrities come out for Triple G versus Steve Rolls. So ultimately, I just think Canelo holds all the cards. I really do. And these numbers solidify that. Let me know what you guys think. How much pull does Triple G have? You know, drop your thoughts in the comment section. But shout out to 30.5 million people back in Mexico who watched this fight. You know, to me, that just renders Triple G powerless. He's at Canelo's mercy. It's all about Canelo's will. And that's just the reality of boxing. Triple G, if he wanted some more pull, he should have fought Andrade. I told you guys that. Because then he could say, ha, Canelo, you said you wanted to be undisputed. Now I beat Andrade. You got to come through me to get this WBO belt. And then that would have been actually more magical for DAZN, because they would have something that HBO didn't have in the first two Canelo Triple G fights, which is Canelo Triple G fighting for every single belt at middleweight. But for whatever reason, DAZN did not pressure Triple G to make a better fight. They were trying to get Brandon Adams and talked about Hassan Indam. And meanwhile, Canelo has to unify and take the tough fights. Jacobs had to take 4 undefeated fighters in a row. You know, Triple G, then Luis Cuba Arias, then Mad Selesky, who Andrade's now fighting. You know, the champion Andrade. Then he had to fight Sergey Derevyanchenko, another guy Triple G did not fight. He rather the IBF strip him and chase Canelo when Canelo failed a drug test than to fight Sergey Derevyanchenko for whatever reason. And then Jacobs fought the tough fight, Derevyanchenko, and it was a tough fight. He scored a knockdown. Then he got Canelo. You know, Canelo moved up in weight, took on Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., 164.5, fought Golovkin twice, moved up another full weight class, not a catch weight. There was a rehydration clause with Rocky Fielding, but he fought a guy who was like 6'2.5", 6'3", beat the shit out of Rocky Fielding, then drops back down and unifies with the guy that I thought beat Triple G. And Triple G, he loses to Canelo, loses all his belts, never got the last belt from Billy Joe Saunders because he was chasing Canelo, didn't fight Derevyanchenko. WBC told him to fight Charlo, and he didn't do that. Now he's fighting Steve Rolls, who no one's even heard of. Probably not going to create no ruckus or crazy phenomenal volume of sales, but we'll wait and see. And then he just gets to get back in line and then skip over everybody and get Canelo. And then Canelo's out here doing 30.5 million views in Mexico for his fight with Jacobs. It's just unfair. You know, everyone else is taking the hard route. So I really hope Canelo, he's the boss in this equation. I hope he sticks to his guns, because it's not, to me, I don't think it's a good example that DAZN is setting if they just try to, because they think fans want to see Canelo Triple G3 and they think that's going to be the biggest fight with the biggest audiences in their mind. But I'm here to tell you, the way they went about it, I don't think it's as big. Triple G, especially fighting Steve Rolls, I told you the best possible way to have made this fight bigger would be Triple G versus Andrade, winner get Canelo, because then they would at least have a belt. If you notice, it's not, I don't think Canelo Triple G3 is going to be as big if they press it under these circumstances without Triple G fighting Andrade, or at least a Charlo, to show that he's, you know, capable of beating a young hungry lion. Charlo's the same age as Canelo. They're a couple months apart, you know, and the WBC ordered Triple G to fight him. So, you know, if he doesn't go one of those two routes and they just try to force Canelo Triple G 3, I just don't see it being as big as DAZN thinks it is. If you look at it, Triple G was in the audience and Canelo laughed. He said, it's good that he comes to watch me fight because he's a fan of mine. Triple G talked a little trash and said that the fight was boring. And it's funny that he's saying that Canelo Jacobs was boring, but all he did with Jacobs after the knockdown was jab him. And Jacobs was the one throwing combination punches. You know, him versus Canelo, he begged for Canelo to bring the fight to him and don't run and shit. And then Canelo brought the fight to him. And all he did was jab, but he's the one saying Canelo Jacobs was so boring and stuff like that. You know, it's just, I'm over it. Even when they showed Triple G at the Canelo Jacobs fight, he got booed. So I think people are over it. We'll see how it plays out. Canelo, great numbers, 30.5, definitely the A side. And like I told you before, new media. Max Kellerman on First Take, when he had Anthony Joshua as a live guest, he said that Anthony Joshua is a bigger star than Canelo. And I immediately did a live stream and I said, that's bullshit. Anthony Joshua is, you know, he's big and popular in the UK, but he's not, the UK is not doing 30.5 million views, you know, because first of all, in the UK, the time zone is all different. So if AJ fights Andy Ruiz or something, it's probably not going to do 30.5 million views because it's going to be at 3 a.m., 4 a.m. in the morning for the UK, you know, depending on what time the fight airs. So whole different markets. Canelo's clearly the biggest star in boxing when Floyd Mayweather's not here. End of story. This is what I told you, new media. Let me know what you guys think of Canelo's numbers, 30.5 million from the reports. Crazy. Definitely the biggest star. Rest in peace to the people who lost their life in Monterrey, Mexico in the plane crash. Drop your thoughts in the comment section.
So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.